Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel Code with Emily. So in our previous video, we learned everything about HTML tables. Now today, we are going to begin learning one of the most important topics in HTML, and that is HTML forms. Now before we write the code for how to create a form, there are a few questions that I want you guys to answer. Have you ever created an account on YouTube? Or have you ever created a Instagram account? Or have you ever searched something in Google? Have you ever filled out a college admission form? Have you ever booked a movie ticket or ordered food online? Then if your answer is yes, congratulations, you have already used HTML forms hundreds of times in your life. Let us see a few examples over here. If you observe carefully, this is a Google sign-in form which is currently asking for an email address or a phone number. And then there is this another form which is going to help us to register ourselves for Google to create a new email ID. And if you go to Gmail, there is going to be an option to create an account for personal use or for my own work or business. If I click on work or business, you're going to again have two options, whether you want a Gmail address just for you, or else if you want custom email address for productivity or business purpose. So if I again check this one, it's going to give another form to fill up some information. And if I try to pick this one, again redirects back to the way we had earlier. Then we do have Amazon sign in, and or if you want to create a business account, then there is going to be a separate form. Okay, and then if you want to download a specific guide, there are going to be some tons and tons of forms. You might have even seen registration forms, etc. Right. So now, have you ever wondered how does a website actually collect all this information? How does it know what you typed? How does it send this information to the server? Well, everything begins with a HTML form. Today, we are going to learn the HTML side of this process, but later when we learn backend development, we will see what happens after the data reaches the server. So what do you think exactly is a HTML form? An HTML form is simply a container that allows user to enter information and send that information somewhere. Think of a form as a data collection sheet. Suppose we are joining a new college. So the college admin is going to give you an admission form, right? Where it might be asking your name, your father's name, mobile address, email, and date of birth. So they are simply collecting some information. Exactly the same thing is going to happen in the websites. Instead of paper form, we create digital forms using HTML. Every time a website wants some information from the user, HTML forms comes into the picture. Some common examples would be login form, registration form, contact form, search form, feedback form, payment form, booking form, and many more. So when someone says forms, always think the website wants to collect information from the user. Now, so in the Visual Studio Code, which we have been doing all the sessions in one page, which is index.html, what I would like to do is I'll try to create a new page for forms. So I'll just try to take a document with name forms and extension HTML. So what we are going to do is I'm going to first take the default HTML5 template and title. I'm going to name it as HTML forms. Okay, so currently this is what I'm going to have, right? Now what is the first thing that we're going to do is, for creating a form, we do require a form tag. Now this form tag, it's a paid tag. So this form element is the first thing that we need to add for creating any form. And remember, this is a container for creating a new form. But let me go back to the application where I'll just try to open forms.html. Do you see anything over here? Nothing at all. So please understand that the reason nothing is appearing over here is actually the form tag itself is not going to display anything. Okay, because the form tag is simply a container for our form. Think of it like an empty box. If you give an empty box, will you see anything interesting? No, right? Only after we place some objects inside the box does it become useful. Yes, right? Similarly, inside the form, we will place different elements. Like we are going to pass several types, different input types. We are going to pass text boxes. We are going to pass password fields. We are going to add email fields. We are going to add radio buttons, check boxes, buttons, drop downs, and many more. All these elements together make a complete HTML form. Okay, so please remember one very important form tag alone is not going to do or collect some information at all. It's simply a container which is going to hold all the form controls. Okay, so keep this important thing in mind. Next important thing that I would like to talk about is the action attribute. Now you might be wondering what exactly this attribute is going to do. In a real-time situation, let us say if a student is filling a registration form for any university, they are going to enter their name, email, password, etc. Finally, they click on submit button. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Where do you think this information is going to go? Do you think it is going to stay inside the browser forever? Of course not, obviously, right? It needs to be sent somewhere else. That destination is specified using this action attribute. Okay, so this thing is going to go to that specific page. All right, usually maybe we can just try to take it to the success page or some any relevant page. Okay, we are going to discuss much more about this thing in the backend though, but as of now I'll just try to leave it as HTML success.html. But please, if you observe carefully, we don't have that success page available with us right now. Let me quickly create one, and inside which I'm going to take a h1 tag and I'll say thank you for your interest, etc. Okay, let's just keep it like this as of now. We might modify this thing later. Next, so for now just remember this one line. The action attributes tells the browser where the form should be sent after the user submits the form. Okay, next, there is another attribute that we are going to use, which is going to be the method attribute. Now the method attribute is going to take these two important things, which is either get or post. So now please understand one thing, that today we are not going to explain in detail about what this get and post are, because that belongs to the backend development, but I do want you to know the basic idea behind it. So the method tells the browser how the information should be sent. Okay, that's all you need to understand as of now. Later when we learn PHP, maybe Node.js or any backend technology, I'll clearly explain you what exactly this thing keeping either get or post is relevantly doing. Okay, next, so let us add a very interesting thing right now, which is going to be an input. So input is basically an element, or you can clearly see it's an unpaid tag. I have self-closed the tag over there. Now when I add this thing, let me save it, and if I go back to the application, you can see I can see a box finally. Okay, so congratulations, you have just created your first input field. But let's understand something important over here. The input tag is probably the most frequently used HTML element inside the form. Okay, almost every website you visit is going to have multiple input fields. Okay, just as you can see over here, there are multiple input fields. All right, like Google has a search box, Instagram is going to have a username field, Amazon is going to have a field for name and email and password fields, maybe a bank website is going to have an account number field. All of this are created using the same tag. The only difference is their type. Okay, now what exactly do you think is type? See, currently if you see this thing, any user or anyone, what are they going to think? What do you think they are going to pass inside it? Shall we pass an username? Do we pass a password? Do we pass an email ID? We are not sure, right, what to be passed. There is no proper heading to this form, right? Nothing is available over here. So let's say, for example, I want to pass password. Now this thing seems to be a little bit different. It's taking some text, it's taking some numbers. Maybe it can even take some email ID because a form is going to have several fields. So currently the same thing is not happening over here. Okay, so that is the main major issue that you actually need to understand. Okay, so when you are going to ask for the age, do you think this input field alone is going to take the thing on it? No. For email, we are going to have a separate input type. For age, you are going to have a separate input type. For text, a normal username field, you are going to have a separate input type. Okay, so we are going to have several things, and understanding the type attribute is basically how we are going to understand how this text input fields are going to work. Okay, so let us just try to type our very first type that we can use inside this input field, which is going to be input type text. Okay, now let me save, and if you see, there is no change over here. Okay, so it looks almost all identical to the previous text box that we have seen. So what actually changed? The answer is that the browser now knows what kind of information can be passed inside this field. Okay, think of this input tag as a machine. The machine remains the same, but the changing by changing the type, we completely change its behavior. Okay, for example, we do have several types, like input type text is for normal text. We are going to have input type password, which is going to hide some characters. Let me, this is for normal text. Then we do have input type password, and this one is for something which basically hides some characters, because if you see any website, password field is something which should hide some information. Let me save this thing, and we see two boxes right now. This one is for text field, we can pass some text, and this one is again something which seems to be text field or something. We don't unfortunately have a heading right now, but when I try to type inside this thing, you see it is not being visible. It's basically going to hide the characters. That's what password is going to do. Next, same way, we do have few more types. Like I can take type email, which is going to be something which is going to accept all email addresses. Okay, and then we do have an number field where we can accept numbers, and then there is the TEL field which can accept only 4 numbers, and then there is this type URL which can accept any website URLs. Okay, so let me save this. So we do have so many boxes right now, but later in the next form videos we will try to learn many input fields like date, time, color, file upload, radio buttons, checkboxes and all, because this is a lengthy concept. We cannot wind it up in one session, or else the video also is going to become really very big. And let's break that thing down. Let us just try to focus on these things as of now. Okay, now see, first of all, talking about the input type text. So input type text basically is a normal text field. Okay, the text input is basically used whenever we want, or the user wants to enter normal text. This thing can even include name, it can include a city, it can include some college name, it can include some country details, it can even include some profession. Anything that consists of normal text can be gone into this type equal to text. Now I would like to talk about a very important attribute when we are here, which is placeholder. So this placeholder attribute is an attribute that we are going to specifically pass inside this input tag. So where here now I am going to say enter your name. Let me save this now. Do you see something over there? You can clearly see something called enter your name is visible. But the moment I try to type something in, it's going to disappear. Now, at least by passing in a placeholder, we can now understand that we need to pass our name over there. Okay, instead of the user seeing an empty text box, they will now understand that, okay, we need to pass a name, we can pass an email, we can pass a phone number, etc., etc., like that. So we can say enter your password. We can say enter your email or email address. You can say enter a number. You can say enter mobile number. Okay, and you can even say enter valid URL. Okay, so now by this we can the user can understand what information is going to pass over there. Okay, so that is something important that you actually need to understand. The text is called as a placeholder text. It simply gives a hint to the user. As soon as the user starts typing, the placeholder will start disappearing. I mean, it disappears automatically. Okay, so the remember please, this is really very important. The placeholder is not actual data. It is only a hint that is basically common, which basically is going to help the user or any person to understand what him or her should be typing in inside it. Okay, next let me introduce you guys to one more attribute, and this attribute is going to be value attribute. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the value as unique. Now let me save this thing. Do you see something that you should actually observe over here is the information Abhinay is basically pre-populated inside this input field. Okay, now unlike placeholder, the text is already present inside the text box. Please be careful. Okay, and this is the default value. The browser automatically fills the value before the user types in anything. The user can still delete. I mean, if I just try, I can click over there and I can remove this thing and I can change it. You can edit it. You can do whatever you want to do. So just I want you to understand the difference. Okay, the difference between the value attribute and placeholder attribute. Placeholder attribute is just for a hint. It's going to act as a hint. It's just to let the users understand what to type in over there. Whereas value attribute is directly going to project the information of whatever you're going to pass inside it. Okay, so that is important that you actually need to understand. Next, let me actually break these things down into separate lines so that it's easier for us to read and understand. Next, so then the next important attribute that we can use would be the name attribute. I'll say name to be equal to full name. Now see, first most important thing, if I save this, nothing is going to happen. And by the way, I'll just try to leave this value empty as of now. Okay, so we don't notice any visual difference by just adding the name attribute. We have even added the value called full name over there. So naturally you may be confused what exactly is happening over there because no change is happening over there. So the name attribute is mainly used when sending the data to the server. Okay, so currently we have given the method get and post though, but when we click on submit, since HTML cannot interact directly with the server, we will discuss about this thing once we jump into backend though. But please understand that the name attribute is mainly used when sending the data to the server. Okay, let's suppose we do have 3 text boxes or maybe 5 like this. Okay, one for name, password, email, number, mobile number, and a URL field. So when a user clicks submit, how will the server know which value belongs to which field? That's exactly why we use the name attribute. We are going to specifically say that this specific field is a username or a full name field. This specific field is a password field. Okay, so that's how the server is going to know that this whatever thing that I'm going to pass over here belongs to full name field. Whatever information that I'm going to pass inside this is going to belong to password field, etc. Okay, like that. And behind the scenes, browser also knows which information belongs to which field. Okay, again, we will see this in action once we start backend development. Don't worry about this thing right now. Next, at the same time, we can even add one more attribute called ID. So I can give the same value inside the ID to be full name again. See, if I save this thing again, nothing is going to happen over here. Okay, so what is the purpose? So the ID attribute gives a unique identity to the HTML element. Think of it like your Aadhaar card. Okay, so millions of people may have the same name, but every person is going to have a unique Aadhaar number, or maybe any relevant your passport or any identity card. The ID is going to be different, right? So that's how this ID is going to be. Similarly, a web page can contain hundreds of input fields. The ID helps uniquely identify one specific element. Okay, so later we will use IDs exclusively in CSS, JavaScript, etc. But today let's just discuss only about what ID is doing over here. Okay, next. Another important thing that we can actually do is adding a label element. What I'll do is I'm going to add a label element where I'll simply say full name. Now let me save this thing, and you can see some change over here. Now at least finally we can clearly see, or visually we can understand that okay, this specific field or the box, text box, belongs to the full name field. Okay, so the user knows exactly what should be entered over there. This is much better than showing an empty box, right? But we can improve it even more further. Instead of like writing label and all, we can say by adding a for attribute, this again has to be full name. Most of the times the ID value and for whatever value that you're going to write inside the for is going to be I mean the same value. If I save this thing, you're not going to see a major change though, but there is something that you can see when you click on full name. Do you observe when you click on full name, automatically this input field, the text box which you are seeing currently, got automatically highlighted, right? It has been focused automatically. All right, trust me, if you don't use that for attribute, let me save it now. Now when I click, you see nothing happens. Okay, so that is the main reason we are going to use for attribute, and make sure the value that you're going to pass in for matches the value that you're using in ID. This is really very important. Both of these things has to be connected. All right, so this creates a relationship between the label and the input field, and this improves the usability also, because users can click either the label or the text box. Okay, it also improves the accessibility for screen readers, making our forms easier to use for everyone. So as a best practice, whenever you create an input field, try to create a corresponding label as well. Not only for the field right now that we are going to do, what we are going to do is we are going to even do it for password, email, number, telephone number and URL. All of them we can use the labels. Okay, so apart from all these things, what we are going to do is the type password. Basically, let's just try to jump into this field specifically. Okay, so what we can observe over here is whatever thing that we are going to pass over here right now is basically not showing us. I mean, the text that I'm going to enter is not visible. Okay, HTML only hides the password visually. Okay, it does not encrypt it. Encryption and security are handled on the server side using backend technologies. Okay, so remember this important point, that the password fields only hide the text from the screen. They do not provide security by themselves. Keep this thing in mind. It's really very important that you understand that. Then the email file, that is basically for email addresses. Okay, at first glance you can see that it's a normal field though, and but instead of a normal text that you're going to pass over here, the same way if you try to pass the text over here, and if you try to click on enter right now, nothing usually is happening, but it's going to throw us a warning. I'll try to maybe later on add a submit button to explain you what exactly is going to happen if you don't pass an email, proper email ID over there. Okay, so the browser can usually perform a basic validation. Let me just try to take a button over here very quickly. Now I'll talk about the button element, the button tag that you're seeing over here. Let me save this right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm here going to pass in something called ABHI, and that's it. When I click on submit, you see this is the basic validation that I was talking about. So the browser can perform this basic validation, and if the email does not follow the correct format, that is, you can see it says currently to please include an @ in the email address, so which is missing currently. However, don't think that this is enough. Every website should also validate the email on the server. So browser validation is only the first layer. And unfortunately in HTML, this is what we can do. And this is the basic validation that browser is going to do it for us. Later on in the future coming classes, we'll discuss about this thing. Now, coming to the number field, so you can just try to take this field for age. Okay, like for example, you can just try to pass in a value inside it, like any number related information. You don't notice something new inside this field though, but you can see these two bars over here. Okay, like let me just try to pass 10, and these two bars, if you click on above arrow, it's going to increase the value, below arrow it's going to decrease the value. And one interesting thing is, till now whatever fields that we have gone through, it can take both text and numbers, but this is one field which is only going to take numbers. But when I'm trying to type in text, I hope you can hear the sound, but the text is not being entered inside it. Okay, so that is something that you can do. But interestingly, this above and below arrow can also be helpful. Let me just try to go to this number field, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add minimum 18 and maximum to be 60. Let me save it. Now what does this thing mean is, or let me even make this thing even more interesting by adding in an ID called age. Okay, so now what does it mean is that the age value can be minimum 18 and maximum 60. Let me try now. Now you can see it is not going less than 18, and let me directly go 55 or more than 50. It's not going more than 60 as well. Okay, so max specify the highest value which is allowed, and min specifies the lowest value which can be allowed. Okay, so that is something that you actually need to understand. Now there is one more thing that you can actually do inside this number field, which is the step attribute. Now if I just try to add step 5, what is going to happen is when I increase, it's going to increase by 5 each and every each and every click when I'm doing. Okay, same way it's going to decrease by 5. Okay, earlier it was only doing 1 at a time, but since we have added step 5, it's doing 5 at a time. Got it? Now we even do have telephone field, which is going to help us to only pass numbers. Now phone numbers are not mathematical values. Okay, we never perform addition, subtraction, multiplication or division on phone numbers. They are simple identifiers. Also different countries is going to have different phone numbers, the format and all. So maybe we may contain plus, minus, the parentheses, spaces and all. Okay, because of this HTML provides input type TEL, which is specifically designed for telephone numbers only. And on mobile devices, it usually displays a numerical keypad. Okay, making it easier for the users to type. Keep that also in mind. Okay, next, the URL field which is available, this is definitely going to take a proper valid URL. Okay, it's not like you're going to pass some data and directly click on submit. You see it says it's going to take a proper valid URL. Okay, again the browser is going to perform the basic validation though. If entered normal text, it does not resembles to be a valid website address, the browser can warn the user. That's it as of now. Okay, and one final thing that I would like to add, that or I would like to show right now, would be adding a required attribute. Now, the required attribute is something which is not going to have any value. Just add the attribute as it is, that's it, without any value to it. Let me save this thing. Now usually what is going to happen is, earlier when if I not pass anything also, I was able to submit. But now if I'm not passing anything and when I click on submit, especially for this full name, I mean the input, this first text field, because for that full name field I have added required attribute. I'm not typing anything, and when I click on submit, you see it's going to perform a basic validation by saying please fill out this text. Okay, and this form is not going to be submitted because we told HTML that this field is mandatory. That is basically what this field is going to be doing. Got it? We can even just try to perform some basic validation also, like for example to this input field I can maybe say how many number of characters can be passed by minimum length and maximum length attributes. So I can say minimum length to be 3 and maximum length to be 20. Now if I save this thing and if I only pass A and submit, that also is going to come up as a warning. Got it? So it basically says how many number of minimum characters allowed and how many number of maximum characters allowed. Very useful for usernames, password, first name, last name, and many other fields. Okay, very helpful. Next. Now there is something even that we can actually add, maybe to the password field which is there. I will maybe add something called read only. Now basically if I go to read only, something interesting is going to happen. But if I try to go there and if I try to type in something, nothing is coming. Okay, so to a read only field, any field which is read only, we cannot type or modify the data inside it. If it's pre-existing with some data, we cannot modify it. Unfortunately, since we don't have any data over here though, still we cannot type it. That's basically what read only is going to do. It's useful when the information should be displayed but not edited. Okay, so then we can even just try to use something called disabled. Like for example, let me say to the email field I'll try to add an attribute called disabled. Let me save this. Now I am not even going to be allowed to use that. Okay, it is kind of disabled. You can see the difference between all the rest of the input fields and this one. It's kind of disabled. Okay, we cannot, it's going to become gray, we cannot interact with it. And another important difference is that a read-only field is still submitted when we submit the form, but the disabled field is not going to be submitted at all. This is a very common important interview question. Please keep this thing in mind. Okay, so at the same time, please remember that this we'll try to stop it over here because in the second part of the forms we'll try to cover much more interesting features, because this is going way too big and I don't want you guys to get confused. Okay, in the next coming part I'll just try to explore much more features, okay, where we will try to cover much more interesting features. Like we have not still seen radio buttons, we have not still seen our what we say the checkboxes and much more. Okay, so for let's just try to keep it this way. Like for example, first most important thing that in the next video we will try to learn is making it more organized using maybe field sets and add some radio buttons, checkboxes, drop downs. We can even see how to upload files and much more. Okay, so it's going to be really a very interesting one. So until then, I would request you to please support me, share this video and subscribe to it. Please like it. Thank you so much, and we will make sure to catch up with an interesting form interactivity part in the next one. Thank you so much.